Douglas, people are really suffering out there. They're distraught. I mean, who wouldn't be? What we're facing is something that none of us have ever faced before, at least in this lifetime. We're talking about the end of civilization, a cultural change, a way of life change, and many people are not going to make it with us. And right now, I feel like we're like Noah. We've prepared our bioarcs, we've closed the doors, and all around us, we see the results of people who were not prepared for this shift. I feel it's very important that we do more of these audios so that we can at least bring comfort and solace to those who have been with us since 2015, some even before then when they began reading the Gospel of Sophia series. I've entitled this, How to Antidote the Outer World by Developing the Inner World. Is that possible, Douglas?
Oh, yes, it's been possible in the fall of every civilization that we know of. There was always a core group, cultural group that left, got on their ark, left Rome as Nero was there playing his violin and Rome was burning. And if you think that you can solve the evils of the world, you're wrong. Don't even try. You can do it one person at a time by following the law of love. But for yourself, the antidote is not to think that you are going to fix the world so that it's a beautiful place and that it's heaven on earth. No, that's not what's happening. You are born into your father, the devil. This is the kingdom of materialism. This is the kingdom of illusion, of delusion, of basically entrancement of your soul to try to follow vices instead of virtues. What we have is not the necessity to conquer evil by yourself. That's not going to happen. Evil right now, because as Tyler just mentioned, we are in the fall of the Western civilization. And that's okay. It's not a big deal. It's started back in the 1840s with materialism and scientific superstition that supplanted all science, art, and religion. But science is about skio. It comes from the word skio, which means to know yourself. So if you want to antidote the outside world, remove yourself from it. Go inward. Do what the mystics did. Look for the mystic fire. And as you find it, and you will find it more and more over time, you will have more fire to bring to all those around you. Because fire is the basis of love. It's the action that puts into activity what the spiritual world would like to see happening down here. And what does the spiritual world want to see happening down here? Right now, we're across the threshold, whether we like it or not. We've been pulled across because of the threat of death at every single turn. If you are in the Western world, you are being attacked by people with monetary vested interests that are not a coordinated attack on you. It is a massive war of all against all. And this is what we need to remember. When we had to wear masks and where people were told to wear masks, mandated to wear masks and 6 feet separated and don't visit your parents and don't visit your grandparents. What was that? That was the war of all against all. And who created it? Two people, Fauci and Birx. That's it. Two people caused all of Americans to enter into a little trial show, a little drama of what the war of all against all really is. But when you come down to the fact that people still in their environment, in their home circumstances, in their work circumstances, with their friends, they, through this fake pandemic, which really was, we talked about this before. It's not going to stop. This is virus X. This is what they told us about from the beginning. They're going to hit us with a bioweapon called virus X that is supposed to wipe out most of humanity. And by most, I mean like 4 billion people. So the estimates right now are all of the side effects for the next 10 years of what has happened with this recent hoax could kill 1 billion or 2. That's not enough for the sick people with pharmaceutical vested interests based upon petroleum drugs and now crazy science fiction, not science. This is not settled science. This is science fiction. And people have come to be believers either in science or in nothing. And that's a terrible choice. And that's where we're at. So when this dilemma comes in on you, that you're looking at the worst form of nihilism, the worst form of depression, that leads to the logical conclusion of, in many cases, people believe suicide, because this world is evil. And yes, it is. We're in the vale of tears, but this is nothing new. We're down here being tested. That's like saying to the mean, nasty teacher in your school, I don't like tests. Good luck. That's all they understand. It's a language that they speak, and it's their control mechanism. It's a control of fascism. Same thing with all the fascism going on right now. It's not even a communism anymore. It doesn't go towards ideals. It just goes towards control. And this is fascism, and this is economic, predatory fascism, completely out of control, attacking you from all directions at once.
Douglas, I don't want to go the political route right now. I think our audience understands that totally and completely.
Well, if they don't, they won't be able to get away from it.
Okay. And I think it's important that we all together, and that's you out there listening, and the two of us, Michael, we did the research. We saw what it is, and we looked at everything, and there's no way to fix it. We have to let it collapse. But we have to have you good people prepared to go through these trials and get to the other side. Because and especially the older people in this audience, because someone has to lead humanity. We need leaders.
Well, each of us now, it's incumbent upon ourselves to be a leader for ourselves in our art of life. And hopefully, if we can get an art of life that can discern between evil and good, then we can spread that to everyone in our environment through love and through our example. Now, what can we do? What you have to do, from the water you drink, the air you breathe, the food you eat, the people in your environment, the clothes you wear, what you do with your time, what you plant in your yard, every single decision you make is a decision towards, right now, stark evil or stark good. It's as simple as that. Because you have the capacity, for instance, just study the Ascension diet, and you will find that you got to start from your base chakra and work up. Don't think you're going to jump into your pineal gland and start controlling your spiritual imaginal thoughts through mystic meditation on your heart or whatever it is you want to meditate on. That won't come until you have good food, good water, you have a good lifestyle, you have rhythm in your life, you have rhythmic rituals, you pray, you meditate, you consciously approach the threshold every night before you go to sleep by reviewing your day and seeing who you've harmed and who you've given good to, because that's what's going to happen when you go to sleep, and that's what's going to happen when you die, and that will happen incarnation after incarnation. You're simply looking at the good and the evil, and without the evil, there can't be good. It's as simple as that. The evil is there, and it's so pronounced right now because we have the capacity to make the biggest, I hate using the word quantum, but in the old way we used to use the word quantum leaps. You can make quantum leaps in spiritual development right now. So if you wish to become someone who is getting out of the physical delusion and illusion of the world and its evil, you go inside, and then what are you going to do? What path would you follow? What would you do? You don't need anyone but yourself. You simply self-reflect until your mind calms. You don't need to call it meditation. You don't need to call it prayer, concentration, contemplation, any of it. I could explain all that to you, but that's not the point. The point is, are you purely going within to find the inner light? And it's as simple as that. The outside is really living darkness, and the inside is living light. And what is it? That's a reflection of what we take from what the sun gives us. The sun gives us warmth, light, sound, life, all the elements we need to live. We take them in, we hold them inside, we develop our own entire cosmos of light, of multifarious illumination, which all of a sudden, once you get empty and you no longer have to look at just your desires or the unresolved aspects of your life or the evils of the world or all that is impinging upon you, when you get empty, it will be filled with light, with sound, and with life, intuition. And that comes naturally. No one actually has to give you any instruction on that.
Well, see, that fits in perfectly to what I see in Gab comments or even emails that I receive, that people feel disembodied. They don't feel like they're a part of the physical material world. And that is, I mean, the onslaught of the psychological operation against us has been such that, who you are in relationship to your community has been shattered. So you're sitting in your home, maybe you're working in your home, you don't go shopping the way you used to. All these things lead to a feeling of not being a part of the physical world, but yet you yearn for something more, something spiritual. And you said it beautifully last night when we were talking about this, how we're transitioning into an imaginal world. Can you speak on that a little bit more?
Yes, the first stage of initiation is to enter into the world of moral imagination, what is sometimes called the imaginal world. It's a world of not fantasy, it's a world of imagination that is true, that is based upon moral, inherent, eternal, universal, cosmic truth. And you find that in all the fairy tales. You find that in all the really good stories, short stories that are told. You find it even in novels when people talk about biographies, real biographies, when you can see the footprint of the spirit through their destiny and through the way that providence works into their life. These are the profound things that you take from the outer world. And if you look at someone's biography and you look at the way that love penetrated, the way that destiny penetrated, what is that? You're seeing really the way that spirit streams into this material world. And you see that hope springs eternal, that love is eternal, that mercy and grace and all the virtues take you up. And it seems like you're going in the mystic sense, but when you go in, you're also people usually refer to as ascension. But it's simultaneous. It's happening right here. All these dimensions are going on at once. And science every day comes up with more proof of that. But since they don't have a systematic, coherent cosmology of correspondences, they don't know what to do with it. Just today, released in the news, that as we have always said, all the scientists are wrong about black holes. Black holes take in and then they give out. And now they're saying, yes, as a black hole is sucking everything into the nihilistic death that they tell you the outside world is, isn't that the ultimate scientific superstitious statement? That black holes basically eat everything in the end, and suns die? It's entropy. No, wrong. Black holes, as they are sucking things in, send information out. It's just that it's been invisible until they turn from a black hole into an ion jet. And then they send that information out as the very particles that create suns and worlds and different solar systems all come from black holes. So it's the opposite of what everyone thinks. Nothingness, total void, is a really great thing in many spiritual traditions. And until you can get there, you haven't started the first step. And why? Because in America, we're fighting neurosis, psychosis, and aberrations of sex and violence, because that's what happens when you are pulled across the threshold. So how do you do something that can antidote the outer world? Very simply, remove yourself from it and only take from it what is eternal, virtues and virtuous action. That's what's eternal. And some of the universal laws that are inherent in the basic way that the material world is built, that's the shadow of the spirit. So you don't need the outside world to have the antidote to the outside world. You're not going to find it out there. You're only going to find it in yourself. And in yourself, in your heart, and what we've often described as the cube of the heart, you're turning that into a bigger perspective. How do you do that? Instead of having 6 surfaces on a cube, you build 12 surfaces on a dodecahedron. In other words, you construct a celestial sphere in your heart that makes you bigger so that you can receive more love and give more love. It's that simple. And if you're pure, it does it all on its own. It's self-assembling. It's self-constructive. It is self-replicating.
So many years ago, we anticipated this point in time where we would be transitioning from the Kali Yuga to the Sada Yuga. We prepared in the internet so much spiritual material for you. And this is what I say. Find something that resonates with you spiritually. For some of you, it might be the Bible. For others, maybe you have really enjoyed listening to the Rudolf Steiner tapes, or you've already started reading Knowledge in the Higher Worlds. But let me remind you that Douglas and I have left a ton of material everywhere, and it's just for you at this time. If you don't like reading, you could go to our YouTube channels, Douglas Gabriel, and the other one called Gospel of Sophia, where we have done lectures, we've discussed spiritual matters, and you can review them again, even if you heard them before. This time, listen with new ears. If you like to read and you want to go deeper, go to our other sites, neoanthroposophy.com, ourspirit.com, thegospelofsophia.com, theeternalcurriculum.com. We left you so much material to nourish you during this time. And if that's not enough, stay tuned with Gabriel's diary that we're going to be doing here. Finally, and not least important, is that when we wrote our books, we made sure that you could download a free copy so that you could start immediately to begin your process of spiritual development.
Yes, and you're not alone. And anytime that you ask for help, you'll get it. If you ask with a pure heart, you'll get it. In your heart of hearts, ask for Mother Mary to help you in your great sorrow. Ask for Jesus Christ to help you in your own personal development.
Yes.
Ask for the saints. Ask for the Archangel Michael to come and help lead you through this most difficult time in history. All you have to do, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be open to you. That's what the Bible says. And it is so true. But unless you take your first action, it won't happen. So if you're, most of the time, when you're depressed and suicidal and having anxiety attacks, what are you doing? You are receiving. You're not giving. Get up and give. And what's going to happen when you get up and love?
What does that mean that you're receiving in that moment? If you feel
because you're overwhelmed from the outside world because its evil is impinging upon you.
So
that's true. It is.
Yes. So you're allowing all that to come and overwhelm you.
Yes.
Because you as an individual can't do anything about it. And you know now you can't. You were with us through every step of the way, through this whole geopolitical nightmare. There's nothing you can do other than do within.
They used to say, go to your prayer closet. Now, what's a prayer closet? It's a place where you have absolute silence. No one's going to disturb you. You have darkness because you don't need light to find the light. The light's within you as it's bouncing around after you've received it from the sun. So you have to go to your prayer closet. You have to go to your sacred space. You have to go to a place where you've set up your crystals in a geometric form, or a room that no one disturbs you in, or
those beautiful double terminated crystals and some shungite and meteorite. Oh yeah, those rocks.
All that. And then set up an altar. And that altar should have on it like with the people in the East, they put their ancestor scroll right on a table so that when you walk in their home, the first thing you see is this box that contains their ancestor scroll. What does that mean? That's their altar. They respect all of the wisdom that has come through their DNA from their entire ancestry, and through that ancient memory capacity, which is a collective unconscious, they hearken to the past. Now, what we need to do is put something on your altar that harkens to the future. Who are your spiritual relatives? So if Mother Mary is your spiritual relative, put something there to remind you of that. It doesn't have to be an image. It can be a thing, can be whatever. But the point is on your altar, as the Tibetan Buddhists say, and as many of the sacramental rites say, you need, smell, you need picture, you need sound, you need, a few things, offering, just take a bowl, pour water in it. Water is the gift of life, best offering you can make. And then you should say something. And so say whatever you want. Say, not I, but Christ in me. Or you can say some complicated prayer. You can say...
Oh, there's so many things that we offered in the Gospel of Sophia series for spiritual mantras that you can say and make your own.
Absolutely. And so then then your prayer meditation, as I say, just follow your inner promptings. You will be given inner promptings, and do not be surprised when you see things that you've never seen before, because they're not in this world. They're in the imaginal world. They're in the world of inspiration, moral inspiration. They're in the world of moral intuition, and they will come and they will fill you. And the more that you learn to understand those sights, sounds, and actions, or really their promptings, then you become the eyes and the ears and the hands and the feet of God or the divine on earth. And that will heal you, because once you're an agent of the divine's going to look after you. Why? Because you're offering them food through your moral actions and moral everything that you're doing that I've just described. And they will then give you their blessing. It's like tapping you on the top of the head, causing pituitrin to basically lubricate all of your nerves and your vascular system. In other words, it's the dew of heaven, they call it, Amrita, they call it Soma, they call it 1,000 names, and it's basically happens inside of you when you can rise up and from your heart into your head and take imaginal thoughts, in other words, moral imagination, into that realm. It becomes nutrition for the angels.
We feed the angels with our thinking and our thoughts, our feelings of gratitude, and the angels feed us. I'm not going to tell you exactly what you'll receive from your angels because it's different for everyone. But in the end, you will feel comfort, love. You'll see abundance, prosperity. You may feel flow. There's so many things, but you have to feed your angels. And many of you approach your prayer time, your feelings of gratitude with this. Maybe it's a sense of guilt that you're leaving the material world and all of its worries behind. And you say, I can't do this because I have to put my attention on those around me who are suffering. Well, in this moment that you're going to give yourself each day, that's not what you do. You surrender to the higher beings and you do it in love and in gratitude for at least being alive at this point in time.
So true, and it's really the quest for the Grail, and the head is the past, and in the midbrain, basically, is the Holy Grail. Rudolf Steiner describes it as such. Manly P. Hall, everyone does, even the ancients. So when the head is the past, and it's more perfect than the heart or the metabolic system at this point. But that I say, the mind is in the heart. All true traditions teach that. What then is in the head? Well, what is the quest for the Grail? It's to go searching, 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 rising from the heart up into the head, doing your homework, doing your mental work. You could call it concentration, contemplation, meditation, prayer, whatever you want to call it. But it's a step-by-step climbing the ladder, going up the 7-story mountain to your head. And when you get there and you enter the Grail tradition teaches us, what are you supposed to do? Ask the right question, and then you get your inheritance. What is your inheritance? Well, it's a sword or a spear that has blood dripping from it. And so you take that sword and the spear and you dive down into your heart now that you're been handed the Grail, the king of the Grail, because the Grail is your heart. And then from the heart is where you warm up your thoughts after that. So there's this cyclic process. Giving, going to the Grail, giving to the angels feed you and they feed your heart. And if it becomes cyclical, rhythmical, ritual, then you get inspiration coming as the next level and intuition coming as the next level. Intuition arises in the metabolic system and inspiration in the heart. So we have in our body all that you need. It's the temple of the divine. You don't need anything else. You don't need anything in the outer world. Now, why is it that we're so obsessed with the outer world? Because we don't understand this, but here's the reality. It's what Martin Buber said, I and thou. You have your own inner subjective experience, and then there's a supposedly outside objective experience, and you're supposed to bridge them, okay? So the inner and the outer, and bridging them, that is the intent of all religions. From the Upanishads in ancient India talked about that. They called it the Atman on the inside and the Brahman on the outside. And when you can merge with that, then you have your entire spiritual inheritance. So it's actually a very, very simple process. You will find people who haven't studied anything spiritual, and yet they're the most beautiful, pure spiritual beings, and they're usually in very humble jobs. And when you walk in their house, you feel like you're no longer in the outer world. You're in a place of love, and that's the way they treat their family and everyone they come in contact with. There's lots of people like that, and they got it directly from themselves. So you don't need someone to save you, and you don't need the outer world to save you, because the outer world is where you think you understand yourself. In other words, you don't really know who you are generally, except through what other people tell you or your reflection with those other people. And so when they reflect back to you, you actually generally, as a person on the path, begin to realize that your I am is brought to you from the outside world. Now, it isn't just people. I traveled all over the world going to the most beautiful places I could, because why? I didn't know why. I finally figured out why. Because each one of them showed a beauty of my own inner self. So we think we have to travel. That's why rich people, they start a collection and then they travel. And all they do is they're armchair travelers. They take their armchair with them and they go to Peru, or they go anywhere in the world. They go to outer Mongolia. It doesn't matter. They're still in their same house. Because why? Perception is controlled by you. What's in the outer world is 100% created by you. Two people standing next to each other, looking at the same scene. One, it's heaven, and the other, it's hell. What's one man's poison is another man's meat. So that's what we have to realize. We are projecting through our perception who we are, instead of we are what the world is telling us. Because right now, the world is telling people a lot of falsehoods.
So if you want to change your perception of the world, you have to have an inner paradigm shift.
Absolutely. And you have to start building into the future. Understand the past objectively.
Yeah, because we don't want to repeat this ever again in humanity. And that's why we all had to live through it very consciously.
Precisely. We have to keep repeating the same old cycles because we're the same old people learning the same old lessons.
For example, the American Republic was never set up the way it is now, with this federalism, monarchy thing running America. So if we collapse, we have an opportunity to start again and using our Constitution as the guiding principle.
Correct. We are right now under our current fake president in some type of demented socialism, which no one can even define because it changes every day. Student loans just got forgiven.
I know. And again, I don't want to go into the politics, but it's a paradigm shift if you want to see the world in a different way.
You need to stop building in this world and start building in the spiritual world. The spiritual edifices are what happens in a Holy Eucharist, in a Mass, in any spiritual activity. I used to teach Sufi dancing, and we'd use the 7 world religions and their most sacred prayers and songs. And until we had basically given credence to all 7 world religions, the spiritual structure had not been created by the dances and songs that we were singing, sending into, some would say, sending up into heaven, but really it's sending right into our environment the love that is going to create the future structures that we live in. For instance, in past times, the wisdom of past times is in our world now, just that we don't understand it. In the future, but it's our entire environment. Our entire environment is ran by the Kyriotades right now. It's very complicated, but the Kyriotades, the beings of wisdom, keep this world together with the help of the thrones, who are beings of will, beings of basically spiritual intuition. And these beings create our environment. What was it that created that? The activity of humans in a previous time. What are we doing now? Oh, we think we're creating, skyscrapers, and we think we're creating airplanes and all these crazy, wonderful scientific inventions. No, we're not. None of that's going to last. That's going to go into the garbage heap, just like every other civilization that has failed. We go there, and what do we find? The remains. They're garbage. That's going to be our garbage. What are we really building? Spiritual edifices for the next round of the earth. So when the earth gets reconstituted, it will simply be an environment of love. And if you can't handle the resonance and the frequency of love, you can't be there. It's as simple as that. How will you get there? Because you will be drawn there because of your resonant harmonic frequency with love and the virtues. And as long as you have right now started to develop a language of the spirit So you can communicate the eternal truths you've found and all the high virtues you've found in this life to the spiritual world. They'll communicate to you, and a dialogue will start, and that dialogue will literally walk you right into your new domicile, into these new celestial edifices that we are all creating through our spiritual work. And that is because we're in such dire times that we have the chance for such fantastic quantum spiritual development.